My name is Dr. Kimberly Selber. I am the Associate Vice President for University Marketing and Communications at UTPA, and I'm the Chief Creative Officer at Studio 1201. I think one of the challenges that we have as advertisers today is our responsibility to society and where that line is. When I see ads and items for sale for very young girls that don't promote empowerment, that objectify and put them possibly in a position of making decisions that might not be good for them at age 10, 11, 12, thinking of themselves as sexual objects. I think those are some of the ethical times that we need to step back and say, hey, do I want to be a part of that? You know, we live in a society where anything can go. You know, we have freedom of speech as long as it's a legal item, you know, or product. There's no problem. As long as we're not lying about it, there's no problem. But I think the question from an ethical standpoint, and it's every individual who needs to really step back and say this and say, do I want to be a part of promoting X, Y, or Z? I think that's one of the biggest challenges. Maybe not of the entire industry, but as the practitioners in the industry. And then we make up the industry. Legal is a much easier question to answer because there are, you know, legal implies that there is a law. In other words, you can't lie. You can't say this product weighs 10 pounds when it weighs 20. I mean, those are blatant things. You can't misrepresent. And then through the American Advertising Association or Federation, there are guidelines, and the industry adheres to those guidelines and says, you know, we would rather follow these guidelines that we set up for our industry versus being regulated. We try real hard not to be regulated. And so legal is a much easier question. Ethical becomes a very difficult thing to answer. If we went back 100 years, for example, the ethics were more of a community ethic. Today, we don't have that same kind of community ethic. There are still things that are taboo, such as incest or child abuse. You know, those things are pretty much universally taboo and unethical in that regard. But because of where we're at in society right now, the evolution of opinion, the evolution of what is acceptable and what is not acceptable, I think we see that every day of you know, one company's opinion, if it is not inclusive, the company becomes a pariah. Therefore, their ethics are not accepted, while other ethics that are more liberal, if you will, become more universally accepted because we can't say no. We're not in a society today that says this is the collective and we say no. So ethics starts to become a very slippery slope. Now, is it ethical to Photoshop an image? It's legal, but it's not necessarily ethical in the sense that you're representing this is the stereotype of what a young girl should look like. And so what happens in society? Well, and this is, again, the stereotypic answer. So you've got a whole group of teenagers and young women thinking that they need to look like this elongated torso, longer neck, and they'll do whatever they can to get to that perfection. Dove certainly addresses that in some of their ads that says, you know, beauty is not about the Photoshop. And in advertising, we can do that. We can legally alter images. Several years ago, Forbes magazine ranked, it was the first time they came out with their rankings, and Pan Am made the rankings. Okay, were we in the top 10 universities in the country? No, we were not. Were we in the top 10 universities in the state of Texas? yeah, we were doing pretty good. But when we broke it down to what kind of university we were, a public university, we were ranked 3rd in the state of Texas by Forbes magazine. So that became you had to really make sure that it was clear that we were ranked the 3rd best public university in Texas. That was very clear. Mm-hmm. I got a lot of pushback saying, you're misrepresenting the quality of this university or the rankings of this university, because you're breaking it down to public university and Texas. And people in general might not understand the difference between public and private, and that it's just Texas. So that you are overselling the university. And we anticipated that, so we created a website that had all of the how the rankings were developed by Forbes magazine, what the complete list of was, all of that, so that we knew that when people said, well, wait a minute, I don't believe you, that seems crazy, we showed them proof. So that's how, we were on the line there, in the sense that, were we misrepresenting the university? No, I don't think we were. We were telling some people things that they didn't know, but we were seen as potentially being unethical, because some people didn't feel that we deserved that, so they felt it was unethical. But I said, well, here's the ranking, here's the proof. I'm not overstating this. Well, I have to make sure that it remains legal, or I'll be fired. And part of the job, especially the one that I have, is to make sure that we are protecting the university. For example, I had a poster come through from an office the other day that looked just fine, but I asked about the images that were used, and they said, oh, we just got them off the internet. Well, I know right there we have a problem. The university cannot use images that are copywritten without permission. So we have to make sure that even from just what images we're using, forget about the concept, and that we're using everything legally, and that we're representing the university in the best possible way. Is it hard? Sometimes it's hard because we have timing issues. People don't want to change. I've had people be very grumpy with me that I said, no, you can't use that because of these reasons, and they say, well, I understand, but can't we do it just this one time? Well, just that one time could mean that we are in a lawsuit, and I can't afford that. That's part of my job, is to protect the university in that regard. So that's the legal aspect of it. Is it difficult to be ethical? Well, what we have is a team here, and so people start working on ideas, and we want to push the envelope so that things are interesting and have the voice, especially when it's related to students. But we also know that we have a role to play that doesn't promote, that promotes the values of this university. And so we have a whole team of people working together that kind of police each other, if you will. I hate using the word police, but just, we talk through issues. How could this be viewed? How could that be viewed? Is it in poor taste? Is it silly and stupid? That's fine, but is it in poor taste? We really do. And that's where advertising comes in, or is a team business. You can't just create something and put it out in the world and not have anybody else's input in it. It may work, it may not work, but getting that kind of feedback and listening to people and listening to your audience, how people are receiving your messages, will really help you. I also think that when you start out with the right intentions and are vigilant to be true to those, that it becomes fairly easy. It's not something I think about, because that line is pretty clear for me, what is ethical, what is not ethical.